in Excel.
In this tutorial, we will be talking about macros used in Excel and also the Visual Basic application programming for macros. So what is Excel macro? You do certain daily tasks and daily reports or monthly reports that you generate, and you use data from your Excel and you scrub data, and you basically have the same things performed or done on the Excel sheets every time and every day or monthly or bi-weekly or any number of times that you open your Excel. You remove certain columns, you add certain things, and you change certain values, and these are the things that you do an n number of times on an Excel. And this can all be done by simple automated way, which is macros. So what it does is it is a set of tasks that you can execute as many number of times as you want. When you create a macro, basically what it does is it will record all your mouse clicks and keystrokes. Basically, if for example you have your monthly accounts report that is there and it comes every day, and you have to put it and extract certain data and remove certain columns that you do every time that you open that sheet. For instance, you remove that column I, which has the obsolete values of your accounts or the sheets that you have, and you remove that column and you edit some names, you add such things every time that you open that report, and then you format it in a proper way and send it to your management. So this can all be done in a simple running script called macros. So what you do is you record those mouse clicks and keystrokes and record a macro for it, save it, and next time, tomorrow when you come, you just run that macros, and this will do everything for you, and you do not have to do that same tedious task every day. So this is basically a set of code or a task that you can execute and automate, and it can be done n number of times. So it makes your life easy. Now, so next thing is how you actually activate the macros in your Excel. It's a simple tab that you need to add in the ribbon section, which I'll be showing you across, and this will enable the macros on your Excel. So you go to Files, go to Options, and then you need to customize a ribbon. Click Customize Ribbon, and then there is a Developer tab which you see here. It should be activated. So you just need to select that, click on the tick mark, and just click OK. So this will add a Developer tab here, and this will enable the macros. So now you have your data, and you can run macros or record a macro and run it over on your Excel. There is also an option to do it a different way. Right click on any of the tabs on the ribbon, customize ribbon, and you can add or remove your macros from here. So this is two ways that you can activate your macros. So how you record a macro is the next thing. So here I have a work orders sheet that I receive every day, or one of you will receive every day, and how you record a macro. You have certain set of tasks that you do, and this report has so many things that are obsolete which you do not need, which has to be put across to your management or for your use. So how you record or start a macro? You go to the Developer tab and start recording a macro. As soon as you click on this Record Macro button, it will start recording your keystrokes on the mouse clicks, and you can save that and run it as a script in the next sheet that you do. So this is the sheet that I have, and we'll try to run macros on this and see what it does. So here I have, and this actually works this way. I need to go to the Developer tab and start recording a macro. So when I click Record Macro, it starts recording my mouse clicks and keystrokes. So in this sheet, I have to remove some columns, and the columns that are obsolete and the data that looks weird here should be removed. And what I need is the work order number, the district, and the tactician name, and the kind of service that we provide, and the request date, work date, the cost, and the payment. So this is what I want, and I do it every day when I receive the sheet, and I have to make these changes and send it across to the accounts team. So what I do is I simply automate this by running a macro. So I go to, let's see how it records the macro. I click record macro, I save it as work order accounts, and I add a little description like work orders for accounts team costs. Click OK, and see what I do is basically I add the borders first so that the data looks proper, and then I do not want this column, I delete it. I do not want the number of technicians that are there. I do not want all these, and I also want the labor hours, the account, and what kind of payment. This is very crucial for the accounts team. I do not want any of these obsolete data. So I just delete this, okay, and then I just want to have some cosmetic changes done. So I make sure this doesn't have any border, and that's it. This is the task that I perform every day. Oh, I still don't need this. And I go to the developer tab and click stop recording. So now I have the macro saved, and when I have it, I have automated all these steps in one simple click. And how I execute it in another sheet. So I will show it across to you. The next thing. So here I have the next report that has to be changed or formatted and send it across. So I simply go the next morning and go to the developer tab and go to the macro, and I have this macro save which we ran just now. And with a single click, I will be able to do these daily tasks and execute in a flash. So I just click run and it does the rest for me. I have my report ready and is in a proper format that is required, and it can be sent across. So here, as we see, it is done in a single click by running a simple macro. Continuing our work on macro, we can simply do this by a single click of a button, by adding a button. So what you have to do is go to the developer tab, and in the control section you will see the insert option. When you click on the insert drop down, you will see form controls, and you can say select a button. And here I select a button, and the mouse changes to a cross, and you can add your macro and assign it. So as we have saved it, work order accounts as a macro, and when I just assign that macro to this button, I can edit the text by making it as work order accounts, just to make it simple. Okay. And now if you see, if I just click this button, it will run the macro and format our sheet. So this is how we run the macros in a single click of a button by adding the button. There is another alternative way to go to the macros instead of the developer tab, and you go to the view button and then go to macros at the end. You can view macros, you can record, and you can edit your macro. So when I click view macros, it will show you what are the macros that I have and that I can run, and you can simply run it. Alternatively, and you can record a macro as well instead of from the developer tab. If you just click on record macro, it will do the same functions that we do from the Developer tab. The next thing is to edit the macro. How do you edit your macro? You have to use a simple application in Excel, which is the VBA, Visual Basic Application, to edit your macro. You go to the Developer tab and then click on Visual Basic. This literally opens another window like this, and you will see the module that you have been working on, and you can edit the macro here. So as we see, if you go back to the Excel, we see that our sheet, we have been working on the sheet, and it has the column still K, and the actual sheet is this. So if I go to the Visual Basic editor, and I'll make sure that I remove the columns that are existing from the column M, and I just delete that, and I click Run. I go back to my sheet, and you see these changes are not there. Okay, this is our old macro, and this is our new macro. As we see, this sheet has the rush column, which is the priority of my orders. So these are the things that we can edit with the VBA. What is VBA? Visual Basic Application. It is basically a Visual Basic Application language that is used for macros in Excel. So what it basically does, Visual Basic for Application is a programming language of Excel that helps you automate tasks by writing macros. We have seen how we use macros, how it simplifies our tedious daily tasks by running a simple macro. Now, to help us, write these macros and help us get the best use of our abilities to ease our work and automate our tasks, we use VBA. So, why VBA? There are many advantages of using VBA, and why we prefer VBA in macros for Excel. So basically it is a very simple language. It saves time in performing tedious tasks. You have number of tasks that you do every day, as we have seen in the previous section, how you can simplify your daily task by just running a simple macro. And this VBA helps us in performing those tasks in a very simple manner. Another thing is it supports English-like statements. There are multiple statements that you can use, and which are very basic English language statements, and this can help us, or it is very easy to program or code or edit these commands. You can select a range, it is like a if and else statement and things like that. We'll look into those in details in the next sections. Now, one more thing is it improves the functionality of Excel by allowing you to make Excel behave the way you want. There are multiple functions that you perform in Excel, like selecting a number of rows or columns, or selecting a set of cells in particular. You do it on a daily basis. So these things can easily be performed and easily be edited and executed by using VBA. We will look into those in detail. Now, what is the VBA editor interface? This is particularly an interface which you will have look in detail, where you can edit your commands or your code for your Excel. Now, how this is achieved, we will see it here. Now, this is basically the VBA editor interface, where you can see this is the toolbar section, where it shows all the options, where undo or save or file. We'll see those details in the next section. This is basically the toolbar section of the VBA editor interface. The next thing is the menu bar. Menu bar, as we all know, it shows you the menu, wherein you have all the options like file, edit, view, insert. Insert is the one very important menu bar option, and when you can insert different modules and buttons and all. We'll look into those in details. Run is one more important thing. All these things fall under menu bar. The next thing is the VBA code window. VBA code window, as it says, is the code window where your actual code resides, wherein you can go into it and edit the code or write the codes and select the different range of functions that you can perform. And this is basically the VBA code window where you edit your or write your codes. The next thing is the Project Explorer. Project Explorer is simply like a Windows Explorer, but this is in particular is specific to your VBA, wherein it shows the different options that are there, the Excel sheets or the worksheets that you're working on, or the modules that you have saved, and so on. Basically, it is an Explorer for your VBA, like a Windows Explorer, which is for the File Explorer. The next thing is the Properties window. Properties window shows you the properties of the worksheet that you're working on. For instance, here we are working on the sheet 2, and it shows the properties, what are the kind of worksheet that we have, the page breaks, the right to left, whether it is enabled or not, the name of the sheet, and so on, whether it's visible and things like that. The next thing is the immediate window and the watch window. Now, what is the immediate window? Immediate window is basically a tool or a window wherein you can run and execute simple lines of codes, individual Excel codes that you can run. It will allow you to test individual lines, which is very useful and handy when you're writing and debugging codes. The output of the lines that you execute can be seen here in the immediate window. Whereas watch window is similar to it, but it displays the value of the watched expression in its current state. So this can be extremely useful again while we are debugging the VBA code. Adding a watch is a great utility, and we will see the advantages of having a watch window in your VBA interface. So these are the things that we'll learn and look into it in detail in the coming section. Now we continue our topic for Visual Basic for application for macros, and I'm going to show you how to run some codes and run some macros in the codes and perform some simple to complex tasks using the VBA for macros. So there are two ways to open the Visual Basic application, and first thing is you can run Alt F11, click on the sheet and just press, and it will open the Visual Basic for application window. Or alternatively, you can just go and click on the Visual Basic and it will open the sheet for you, the code window for you. And as we have discussed before, these are the windows that we see. This is the code window, and this is the Project Explorer, and this is the immediate window where we can run some testing codes. Immediately it will show you the output. So here we see the Project Explorer window where we see the modules and all for our Visual Basic for applications. So as we see the code is empty here, we'll try to record a macro and see how the code develops. Okay, so I just go here and click record macro, and I save it as a format and columns. Okay, just quick, and I just save it, click OK, and it has started recording. So now what I'll do is I'll make it simple, and I just delete some columns here. Okay, I do not need this. I delete this. Is there a wait? I want this. I want the mode of payment, parts cost, labor hours. I do not want this. Number of technicians, forget it. Okay, and I go further left and see what all do I need. I don't need this. I delete all these, and I just expand this so that it's clearly visible. And then I want to change the format, the font. So I select this, and I change it to time string. Okay. I'll go back to my developer tab, click stop recording. It is saved. Okay. Now I go back to my code and see the macro here. So we see the macro here, and we can see in detail what it looks like. So we see the code, what it's doing, and what the macro run has generated the code with. So we see we have basically the name of the macro is format columns, and what it is doing, we're just selecting the columns and deleting some. We are checking the range on some columns. EE select, that is the E column that we have selected, and then again so on. And the next thing is the font selection that is mentioned. We are changing it to Times New Roman, size is 11. So it is basically a basic VBA code. So it starts with the sub and it should end with end sub. So this is the code or a format of the VBA code that it looks like. And we'll try to do some basic functions with the VBA and discuss this in further details. So for ease of explanation, I have picked up a blank spreadsheet, and I'll try to explain some basic functions and the commands and the codes that we use to accomplish the task that we with VBA. So as we see, this is the blank sheet, and I have selected a new module for it. So here I start the code, and as it says, it starts with sub, and I am specifying the module name as number. So I'll just try to make it quite simple, and so we as soon as we enter the sub, it ends with the end sub, and so this is the start of the code, and this is the end of the code, and whatever is there should be here, and this is the name of the code of the macro. Now I'll explain it further about the dim statement. Why is it used and what does it use for? So dim is basically a keyword which is a short form of dimension, and it is used to declare variables in the VBA. So here I am trying to specify a variable called x, and how I'm going to do it, I will have it as a number or an integer or anything. So here in this example, I'll put it as an integer or a number. Okay, and as I put as, it populates the prompt. So I select integer, and for example, I select the number to be 500. Okay, and here I'm trying to assign a variable integer, a value of 500 with the dim keyword. So where exactly I want to put this, you will see it when you execute the code. Okay, range, I am selecting, it should be under course, where I'm going to put the value of x as, and I close the bracket, and what should be the value? Value should be x. So now as I click run sub, or you can do it with by running the Alt or F5 key, and it will run the code. So you see here in the Excel sheet, it executes the value of the cell B5 to be 500. So this is one simple function that you can do with the dimension keyboard or dim keyword, and you can assign the value as integers. Now we proceed further with some more examples, and how we assign the string value as a text or something else. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what dim can be used as to set variables. Dim can be used as double, where double is basically a longer form of single variable. It usually takes more space, but needs more larger numbers. Okay, and then you can set double, and I just don't specify it, and we can use date. It basically stores the date values. Okay, and then again string. So what string does, if you use string, it stores the text it can contain numbers, it will have some text as calculations, or anything can be performed. So these are the basic things that I will cover, and you can also use different values for it. So I will discuss this in the next example. Okay. So in the next example, I'll try to sort or use a string value for it. And I put it as a string, substring value. This is my name. So as soon as I hit enter, it ends with the answer prompt, and now I can get my code. So I put it as demo as string. Okay. Now I'm trying to use to name a country or put a value of a country to one of the cells. So let's see how it goes. And I select country, and in country I select America. Okay. Now, what is the value or the cell that basically takes the, or we will put the name of the country as? So I have to specify a range, and as soon as I hit it goes, and I have to specify the cell here. So here I put it as G and 4. Okay. So I close it, and I put a value to it. What value I am going to assign? It is a country. Okay. Now I try to run this code by simply and see G4, the name populates as a country here. So this is a dim keyword being used as a string in our VBA code. So we can also use VBA to pop up a message or an alert or a kind of a button, or a message pops up when you execute this code. So this basically can be executed using the code here, which I'm going to put, and we use the, okay, let's give it a value. I'm going to name it as double value, and again the dim keyword, I'm going to use the keyword as double. Okay, why double is used is basically it gives a longer, it can be used for a longer form of single variable text. It usually takes more space and larger numbers, and we'll try to assign it. Okay, now I'm going to pop up a message in which says value of A is so and so. So I'm going to give value of A as 250. Okay, and how it pops up a message. Okay, so there is a message box which can be used, and it will give you a value. It will prompt you to enter the value, what kind of button you want, and you can enter the text and you can enter the value. So here I'm going to write a code which gives a pop-up message, a message box saying that the value of A is so and so. Value of A is, I'm going to put it in % code, so it actually takes the value of A. Okay, now that's it. And let's try to run this, and you will see a message box popping up. Okay, so the value of the message box pops up saying the value of A is 250. So in the next example, I am going to write a code wherein you can give a value or a string, you can assign it to a selected cell, and this basically used when you have some when you have a task of giving a value to a particular cell, or you have to assign a text or say something about a report. Okay, so this, let's see how it goes, and we use I will say it as fun with some procedures. This is the name, and again dim. So here I'm going to give a user input, and it will be as a string. Okay, you can give any string or any statement. What my user input will be, I will define it here. This is the report for VBA. Let's make it simple. Okay, and where I'm going to put it is in the active cell, or the cell that I have it. Select. Okay, what will be the value? The value will be the user input. I have defined user input as this is a report for VBA. So this cell turns into this is a report for VBA. I run this and you see this. So in some cases you need to run this, and it makes life quite simple when you use VBA for this. As we have seen before, we have used message box. Now I'm going to use the same message box to display my name, or you can use it to display your name. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to name it as name. Okay, and it's very simple. You have to define a message box which displays your name, and I'm going to put it under quotes that my name is Irfan, and we'll try to run it. See here, so it pops up a message saying that my name is Irfan. So this is a message box that you can display, and I can do anything with this. This is a VBA basics workshop. Okay, I run it again and it pops this message. So these are the things that you can use to customize, or when you open an Excel sheet or try to run a workshop or a report, and it pops up a message, customary welcome messages that you can customize, or define a report or kind of data in it, and this can be run using the message box. And now I have another good example wherein you can write a code to tell Excel what is the value of a cell, or what is the number that is there in the cell. So here it is. I put it as sub, okay, number, and it will again populate a message box which will set it to the entered value is, and it should tell me I specify which cell it is that we are going to find the value of. Okay, so I give a range of I have to give it in quotes. I'm going to quotes completed, and it should tell me the value of the number that is present in the cell A1. Okay, it ends. Let's try to run it, and it will give me the value. So this is how we can use Excel to determine or show or populate a message box which will give us the value of the number that is there in the cell. So here I can change it to A4 as well, and try to run it, and it will give me the number. So this is a simple way of populating a message box which will tell us the value of a cell. let me show you one more simple example wherein a message box pops up or a welcome message that can be set when you open the Excel or worksheet. So let's name it as auto open, and then again message box. I want it to populate, and what does it say? I put it in quotes, welcome to our worksheet of workshop. It's very simple. You just run it and see, it pops up a message saying welcome to a workshop. So these are this is one more way where you can, run a code or do a simple welcome message on Excel. Next, I'm going to show you a code wherein you can give a value or assign a value to a particular cell by simple code. So we name it as add value. Now I specify the range. Where I'm going to specify a cell where the value will be given to the cell. Now I'm going to give it as B5. Okay, to put it as quotes, close the parenthesis. What is the value that I'm going to give? Value equals 250. Okay, so now with this code, I'm going to assign a value of 250 to the cell B5. Let's see. Run it. See? Again, I do it to B10. Okay. So this is how you can assign a value to a particular cell. Now I can run the same thing and give a range of cells. Let me make it very simple here. I give it as B1 through B5 as 450. So let's see what it does. See, here I'm specifying the range to be B1 through B5. So it is doing it for the whole range. Okay. And then I can give another set of range here. Let me specify it. Range to be C1. I have to give it in quotes, otherwise it will give me an error. C1 colon C4, and I separate it with a comma, and I can specify another range. So the next one will be D1 to D4, and then I close the quotes, close the parenthesis. What is the value that I give is, let's say, 230. And I try to run it. So it gives the value of C1 through C4 and D1 through D4 as 230 as we specified it in the code. So this is one more example wherein you can assign values to the range of cells or cells with the VBA. One more thing, I can assign a value to a particular cell by specifying these cells. It's very simple. Just specify the cells like 06, 7. Okay, and I close the parenthesis. I assign a value to it. Value equals 10. Let's see. See? Here it assigns the value to that particular cell that we have specified. Row 6 and column 7. Okay. So this is one more example wherein you can assign values to particular cells. Okay, in the next example, there will be a scenario wherein you need to select a range of cells in a sheet. So this can also be done. This task can also be performed using VBA. So I will show you how. This is our, let's say, select a range. Okay, and I am going to set a dim variable as example. Okay, let's say it as example, and what I'm doing is I'm specifying a range because I need to select a range of cells. Okay, now I'm going to set the variable as set example, where I'm going to define the range of the cells that should be selected. So let's say A1 to D5. Okay, this will be the selection, and what I'm going to set the value. Okay, I am going to set a value example. I'm going to give it a value of 256. So let's see how it pans out. Okay, so here I'm selecting a set of cells, a range of cells, and I'm going to assign a value with this function. So this makes it quite simple, and this will be used in a regular daily task wherein there will be a scenario wherein you have to select a set of cells and give a value to it. So you can do it with a click of a button with the VBA. Now I can simply tweak this with by just selecting it. So I'll remove this, and instead of assigning a value, I'll just put an option to select it. Now let's just run it and see what happens next. Okay, so this is one way of just selecting it. Okay, and then it becomes easier for you to copy, paste, and do some functions in it. So you can select this, and you can assign a value, and you can also give a set of values to a particular range or cells with these codes. Now, what if I want to do a selection of the same rows and columns in the next sheet? And I can do this with the set of another set of commands. So I will show you how. So here, let's say, we set the same thing, and we specify the worksheets. Okay, worksheets. I want it in sheet 2. Okay, so I just put it as sheet 2, and I activate it, basically activating it. And now I am going to specify the worksheet 2, and what is the range that I'm going to select? The same thing. Okay, so the range will be A1 to D5. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select it. Okay, and see what happens here. Okay, great. So here I am selecting the worksheet 2, and I'm activating it, and I'm going to assign range, and I'm going to select it. So I can just copy the same or select the same set of cells in the next sheet. Okay, now when there will be, as I said, there will be by requirement where you need to copy some cell contents and paste it to another location. So how you do that? It's again a simple code that you can write. Let's say it as a copy and paste. I'm just making it simple by giving something that we can understand and relate. Copy, paste. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this range, and I'm going to copy it and paste it somewhere here. Okay. So let me just remove this, and I'll show you how. First, we have to specify the range where you want to copy the cells. Okay, so let's say it is again A1. It should be in quotes. A1 colon D5 rows. And I am going to select it. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is, once you select this, the selection that you have what should be the function, and I am going to specify the selection, and the function should be copying it. Okay. So I just set that, and where I'm going to paste it. So I have to now specify the range where I have to paste this selection. And you can just mention the column here, let's say G 10. Okay, and close it. I'm going to select it, and then where I'm going to paste it, I can do it in this sheet. Okay, active sheet, and paste it. So we are selecting a range of cells, selection, and that selection, what we are doing is we will copy it, and now we are going to specify the range where you are going to select it and then paste it. Quite simple. That's it. Okay. See, and you can just change it so it is visible on this G5. Okay. So this makes quite easy, and you can run it. The next scenario will be like when you need to get the count of the number of cells. Like you have to have a selection and you need to count the number of cells. So this can also be done, and it's quite easy. I am going to show it to you. Let's say the sub be count cells. Should always be relatable so that you remember and you understand what is the output and why you are using it. And I'm going to set a variable. Let's say I'm going to set an example for this. And what we are going to do is we are going to specify a range first. Okay, we will specify the range of the cells that we need to count basically. So I'm going to set a variable as a range, and then what we are going to do is example, and we specify the range here. You can specify the range or your selection where you need the count of the number of cells. So E1 colon D5 quotes. This is N. Now, how you want the output? You want a message box to pop out. So you will set a message box, and what should it give? It will give you the count of the variable. That is the variable is here is examples. Okay, so it will count the number of cells in this area. Okay, let's see. It says okay here. I think I missed it. So I just specify the number here, and let's see. So it gives you the number of count in this 20. Okay. Now let's see. I want to 6. So it gives you the selection. So it's quite simple. It will be very useful in our daily task, and wherein you need to count the number of cells. So this is one way to get it. Well, I can further tweak this and to determine or to count the number of rows or columns. So it's again very simple. I just need to do some changes here. I have to set the column count. So if I want to calculate the number of columns, just count. Let's see how it should calculate or give the message the number of columns here. See, it gives, there are 5 columns. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it gives us the number of columns here. If I change it to, should give me 4 columns. Okay, similarly, you can count the number of rows here. just change it to rows. See, it says 6 rows are there. Okay, should give me number of. See, so this way you can calculate the number of count the number of cells, number of columns, number of rows with this. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the if statement. If statement is one of the most widely used statement, and whoever is in programming are very much familiar with this function. So what it does is we specify a condition. If a condition is met, then the output should be such and such. We can specify the condition and it will check whether that condition is there, and if it is achieved, then you will have to specify the output as well. So this can be achieved with the if statement. Okay, and it is very easy because it understands the basic English language. So it's not very complicated, and I'll show you how. So the syntax can be like this. If suppose you specify a condition, and if that condition is met, then the result. You specify the condition and the result both. Okay, so this is one thing, and then you can specify the else or else condition, wherein you specify the condition 2, then the result should be this. So here you are going to specify 2 conditions or multiple conditions, wherein you specify this, and if it is there, then result will be this. If it is this condition, and then the result will be something else. Let's take an example wherein you have some scores or marks, and you have to select a result. You can't do this manually entering, so you can write a code. Suppose, for example, I have it here. Okay, let's show it out. And I specify as if statement. Okay, now I have to specify the variables. Now I have 2 variables. I have a score and I have a result. And the score is an integer, the number, and the result is a string, pass or fail. So I specify this. Okay, dim score. I specify it as integer. Okay, and then there's another variable that I have to set, result, as string. Okay, now what the score will be? The score, I have to specify the range. Score, I'm giving it as a range. It's in my cell A1. Okay, I specify the range. What is it? It is a value. Okay, sorry, should be a dot. Okay, and then I'm specifying a condition here. If score the variable is greater than or equal. So as I said, it's quite simple and it takes the basic English language functions. Then the result. Result is another variable that I have said. Result, what it should be? It should be in quotes pass. Okay, so if this condition is met, then the result will be this. Okay, and now where I want to specify my result, I should give a range for that as well. So I give it in the next column or any one. This is the basic example. Value should be the result. Okay, let's see how it runs. See, says pass. Change it to 40. It doesn't give me anything because I have specified only one condition here. Okay. Change to 75. Let's see how it runs. See? So this way, it's very basic condition that you are specifying. You are specifying two variables, the score and the result, and then you are giving a value for it, and you are specifying the condition. If the score is greater than, then the result should be passed. Now in the next section, we will simply tweak this and use an if-then-else statement. We will attach an else statement with it and see. We will specify another condition and see. So here again we'll use two variables, that is the score as integer and the result as a string. And let's stick to the same values. And now I'm going to specify it, and if the score is greater than 60, then the result. So the result will be pass as it is before, and then I'm going to specify another condition. Else the result should be fail. Okay, and now I have to put it as a end if statement. I have to specify the end string, and the result will be again in the value. The range will be B1. So let's see, if it is more than 60, then it is pass, otherwise it is fail. Okay, it is pass. Let's see, 40, and run it again. So, okay, so we are specifying two variables again. We are giving it a range, and we are specifying one condition. If this condition is met, the result is pass, otherwise else it is fail. So another set of example. The next statement that we use or we are going to discuss is the loop statement, that is the for loop statement, and why we use it. There are situations and tasks that you need to execute, and you need to do it several number of times. These are basically executed sequentially. It means one after another. So the first statement or the function is executed, and the next is taken up. So, and then the next, and so on. So these loop statements allow us to execute a statement or a group of statements multiple number of times, many number of times. And this happens only when the first task or the first task is done, and it executes that, and it goes to the next one. So here we'll discuss a simple example of the for loop statement. So let's see how it works, and I'm going to set up a loop statement. Okay, again I'm going to make it as loop 1. So here it is. I have to specify the variable, that is dim, and I'm going to specify x as an integer. Okay, I'll try to execute it and then explain it what happens and how it executes. Okay, for x equals to 1 to 24. Okay, let's see, and I'm going to specify the range as. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to fill the column A from 1 to 24 with some value. From 1 to 24 with the values of 1 through 24. Okay, so I'm setting up a range, and how it ends is it gives me a value. Now it executes this and goes to the next. So I'll explain you how it. So we are setting up a loop. We are setting up an integer, a variable x as integer, and we are setting the value of x to be 1 to 24. So here for 1, it executes, the first thing is it takes x as 1 and it fills in a1, and then the next value of x will be 2, and it goes to a2 and fills the value as 2. So just let's try to execute this, and you will see the column A filled with 1 through 24. See, it's quite simple. It executes one condition and then goes to the next, and we are defining it with the number of values and the variable as x, and the number of values is 1 to be 24. Okay, so this is one basic example of a for loop statement. Now let's do some more addition to this example by executing another set of for loop and giving the output, and we'll code the output to be the color coded ones in the column B. So how we do it, it's a basic simple example that I'm going to take. And again, what I'm going to do is I will have these values here and I'm going to color code the B column with certain color index. For each number there will be a different color. So let's see. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to change the B. And what action is going? Here we put up a value. Now we are going to select it, and with this selection, what I'm going to do is it should select it and it should color the interior. With what? With the color index. Okay. And the value of X. And then I'm going to specify the pattern, what pattern it will take for the box to be colored. And I'm going to put it as a solid. It will fill the whole thing with the solid. And then I just execute it. See, it takes this color B and it's coded like this. So these are the simple things that you can set up with the codes and for loop statements. So there are numerous examples and exercises that we can perform, tasks we can perform with the VBA, and this can be found in detail in our next courses, advanced courses.